Critic Guy here on the final day of the BCG Star Wars Countdown, where I reviewed episodes 1 through 6 of the Star Wars saga, all leading up to the premiere of Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, which comes out tonight, and I'm going to see it. I have my ticket right here. Right here, proof that I got my ticket, and I cannot wait to see it. I am super excited. I really hope that it lives up to the hype. So far, again, I've been hearing a lot of positive things, so hopefully it's good. But to close off this excellent countdown, we are going to be reviewing the final chapter, or what was the final chapter to the Star Wars saga, Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi. Now, when it comes to the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi was the one that I remember watching the least as a kid. Not because I hated it, but because I didn't own the VHS copy of Return of the Jedi, so I didn't get a chance to watch it, and whenever I got the chance to watch it, I had to borrow it from a friend and all that stuff. And when I saw it as a kid, it actually was the least memorable of all the Star Wars films to me. I just never really was sucked into it. There were some good moments that I liked, but it just never stuck with me. And so watching it again after all these years, I have to say, it is a pretty good film. I enjoyed it for what it is. Does the film have its flaws? Yes. It most certainly does, but it's still an enjoyable film. First off, as always, the story. Now, the story in Return of the Jedi is a bit less focused than the other two, as it jumps from plot point to plot point constantly, but it's still really engaging, and the final throwdown between the Empire and the Rebels was really cool to see, and it does leave off on a satisfying note. Next is the action. While a bit more cartoony this time around, it still was really fun to watch and engaging, especially the space battle, which I personally really enjoyed. But hands down, the best thing about this film are the characters and their interactions among themselves, specifically between Luke and Darth Vader. I have talked about Darth Vader non-stop in the last 3 videos because this character is one of the best cinematic villains of all time and just a really great character. And you really get to see his character go through a metamorphosis in this film. He goes from one of the cruelest, meanest characters you've ever seen to a very sympathetic one who kind of redeems himself at the very end. And his relationship with Luke is really fleshed out. I liked seeing that. And I liked how Luke is trying to save his father from the darkness. That is probably the most powerful thing about the film. And Return of the Jedi not only has one of my favorite moments in any Star Wars films, but one of the best cinematic moments I've ever seen in a film in general. And that's the moment where Darth Vader is watching his son being electrocuted to death by the Emperor. You sense how conflicted this character is by the situation. Should he save his son from the Emperor? Or should he stay by the Emperor's side and just watch his son die? He just doesn't know what to do. He's torn by the decisions. And for a character that mainly wears a mask and you can't tell what he's feeling from the inside because you can't see his facial expressions, you can get a sense of what the character is feeling, the turmoil in his soul. And that's all done by the excellent pacing, the excellent shooting, and the overall tone of the scene. It's all handled so perfectly. And when he goes like that and grabs the Emperor and he's being electrocuted by him and he throws him into that reactor thing and it explodes, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yes, good job, Vader, good job. And you know what's funny? By that action right there, Anakin Skywalker fulfilled the prophecy, got rid of the Sith, and brought balance to the Force. So he was the chosen one after all. He was just in it for the long con, guys. And real quick, let's talk about the Emperor in this film. This guy is a master manipulator. I mean, he has such a way with words. He makes the dark side sound so intoxicating. And I have to give it up to Ian McDiarmid, I believe that's the name of the actor, for pulling off this role. Yes, he's a bit over the top, a bit cartoony at some points. Like he's like, oh, I believe the deflector shields will still be operational. Okay, he didn't do the gorilla laugh, but he did say that line. He said it in such a pompous way, like, you think you're so damn clever? Ha! I was the one that set that all up, bitch! What are you gonna do now? Han is still good in the movie, Leia is still forgettable, Chewie is still and again, the film had a very satisfying and fulfilling conclusion. In fact, at the end of the film, the score that plays, at least in the special editions, which is called Victory Celebration, I really like that score. It's probably my favorite score in the entire original trilogy, even though it's not really a part of the original trilogy, it's part of the special edition. It doesn't matter. It's an excellent score done by an excellent composer, which is, of course, John Williams. But believe it or not, Return of the Jedi out of the original trilogy does feel like the weakest installment and is the one with the most problems. First off, one of the major problems I found with this film, and it might sound contradictory considering I just said how much I enjoyed it, was the story. The story, for one, is a complete rehash of the first one. I mean, seriously? They gotta destroy the Death Star again? I mean, couldn't we do something different like in Empire Strikes Back? Personally, I thought it was so unnecessary to bring the Death Star back. It just felt like it was shoehorned in there because we need to give the rebels something to fight against. Oh, you know, Death Star worked the last time, let's bring that one back. It just felt like they ran out of ideas, so let's just reuse the Death Star. And logically speaking, it makes no damn sense to bring the Death Star back. I mean, it failed the first time, why are you gonna try it again? Isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing and expecting different results? Well, the Emperor is a bit cuckoo in the head, so I guess him commissioning another Death Star makes sense. But for me, again, it just felt so unnecessary. And as I said earlier in this review, the film's story is less focused than the other two, as it would jump from plot point to plot point. Like when the film first starts off, you have Darth Vader landing on the new Death Star, and he's talking to this one guy, he's like, you better explain yourself when the Emperor gets here. Oh my goodness, the Emperor's coming? That's right, so you're gonna have some explaining to do. Okay, we'll double our effort. Don't worry, we're gonna get it completed. That's what I like to hear, Captain. Now I'm gonna go force choke a fool. And you may think that after this scene, we're gonna cut to Luke and the rebels like formulating a plan on how they're gonna defeat the Empire. But no, it cuts to R2-D2 and C-3PO in a desert, heading to Jabba the Hutt's palace, and we stay in this place for about 20 to 30 minutes in the film. Now, I don't have a problem with Jabba the Hutt or the scenes with him, it's just that if you think back to it, that entire scenario is completely pointless to the plot. Like, what did it serve to the story besides getting Han back into the story? Nothing else. Hell, even the characters forget about all the scenes with Jabba, as none of them ever bring it up in the film ever again. Honestly, they should have condensed all the Jabba scenes. Instead of stretching it out needlessly by saying the droids first, then sending Leia dressed up as a bounty hunter, then sending Luke, they should have just sent Luke from the get-go, have him threaten like Jabba the Hutt, give me Han Solo or else you're gonna pay the ultimate price, and then have him like just waste everybody there, then take Han and fly off to bigger, more important things, like the Empire. Hell, even better idea. Why not have Jabba and the Empire team up? That way Jabba would be more significant to the plot and hell, could make for a very interesting climax. You have the rebels facing against Jabba's people and the Empire. That would be really awesome. Instead, we get... we're gonna get to them real soon, I promise. That to me sounds like a much better and more epic climax for this film. And of course, we gotta address the elephant in the room. The biggest problem people had with Episode VI, Return of the Jedi, both Star Wars fans and audiences alike. The Ewoks. Now the Ewoks as characters aren't bad. They're cute, they're adorable, they're funny from time to time. But when you include them in the epic finale, the climax of the film, it just makes this final battle feel a bit cartoony and silly. It's really hard for me to take this epic battle against the Empire seriously when the Empire are getting their asses kicked by a bunch of walking teddy bears. I watched this movie last night with my brother and two roommates, Ryan and Todd, and when the final battle commenced on the forest moon of Endor and the Ewoks show up, we were just making fun of the entire scenario. We could not believe that the powerful galactic empire who showed their true force in the last movie were being taken down by these cute cuddly teddy bears. Like, are you serious? Like, they have such primitive weapons and here you guys are being beaten like chumps. That's like seeing the New York Yankees getting their asses handed to them by a bunch of little leaguers. It's really embarrassing. Again, I don't have a problem with the Ewoks as characters. They're cute, they're fun, they're adorable, but adding them into the final battle for this franchise kind of lessens the moment and makes it less intense. I mean, this is a dire situation. People are dying left to right, and then you cut to these little teddy bears like running around like, "Hootoo-tee-dee!" It's just really jarring. This is a war, not a freaking scrimmage in the fields. And the last issue I found with this film, and it could be considered a nitpick as it was a really small thing in the film that it's almost insignificant, but it just bothered me because it's like, come on, we don't need this right now. This is totally pointless. And that was the melodrama pseudo love triangle between Luke, Leia, and Han. There comes a moment where Luke is telling Leia the truth about his family and the fact that he has a sister and that Leia is the sister, and he walks away all dramatically, and then you have Han coming out and is like, "What's going on out here?" And she's like, "I can't tell you." "Oh, but you can tell him?" I can't talk about it right now. Hold me. Really? With that shit, George? Do we really need this pointless love triangle or love dilemma? I'm glad they don't expand upon it in the film. They do bring it up again later on at the end where Han is like, "You love him, don't you?" She's like, "Yeah. Well, I won't get in the way." He's like, "No, it's my brother." I just want him to just look at her like, "You couldn't tell me that earlier? Really? We were playing this freaking pseudo love triangle shuffle? What the fuck?" There's enough drama happening in the film as it is, George. Don't add this pseudo love triangle melodrama bullshit in there as well. But overall, besides its major flaws, Star Wars Episode VI Return of the Jedi is an enjoyable film and a solid conclusion to the Star Wars saga. Until Star Wars Episode VII tonight, and that's why I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's an enjoyable film. But as always, what did you guys think of this film? Did you really enjoy it? Do you love it to death? Or did you find it really underwhelming and you didn't like its execution? And let me know, what is your all-time favorite moment or moments in the Star Wars saga? Comment below, let me know, and that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the BCG Star Wars Countdown to Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens. Because as you're watching this video right now, I am sitting in a line to go see the next film, and I'm really excited. I'm just counting down the moments until I can finally see it, and then give you guys a review for it tomorrow. So stay tuned for that as I conclude my sort of Star Wars week. It's kind of been a Star Wars week. That's pretty cool. But until then, guys, if you'd like to see more videos on this channel and be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm Tony Watt II, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.